All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Dr. Hans Selye at the University of Montreal's Institute of Experimental Medicine and Surgery has demonstrated the destructive effects of stress and strain, worry and anxiety on the general defense system of the body. He says if the mental stress which set the general defense system in motion is not of a temporary and passing nature, but persists week after week, the adrenal glands first attempt to adapt to the situation by increasing their output of hormones. But this plays havoc with various other processes not related to defense. The individual may develop arthritis or diabetes or any of the other so-called psychosomatic diseases. Inevitably, if the stress is continued beyond this general adaptation stage, the adrenal glands become exhausted. They change in color from yellow to brown. The stomach becomes spotted with ulcers. The resistance to cold and heat and to every kind of disease and injury collapses. And if the unfortunate individual does not fall victim to some infection, he will probably succumb to one of the heart, circulatory, or kidney diseases, which are today the greatest killers. Dr. Selye's work demonstrated that the defense system can effectively fight only one thing at a time. If in response to a mental tension caused by pain from a broken limb, for instance, it is set into action, it quickly organizes 100 specialized activities, in addition to its general work to repair the fracture. But if in the middle of this repair work, another stress caused by fear, let us say, is introduced, we either quickly succumb to the first injury or to shock resulting from second stress, or the broken limb simply does not mend and has to be amputated. In the case of other diseases, rather than fractures, healing is suspended and the diseases become chronic. Thus, if our general defense system is mobilized by mental tensions of a non-physical origin, our resistance to the express stresses imposed by such things as pneumonia, influenza, colds is decreased proportionally. What he's actually saying is that if you begin to imagine, fear, the sense of loss that you're going to lose your job or mortgage, or some imaginary fear while you're going on an airplane, that which I fear most has come upon me. Now, when the subconscious does not differentiate between an imaginary fear and a real fear, and therefore you can see the havoc that is played by stress and strain and anxiety when a person begins to worry and become anxious over conditions and circumstance events which are not happening at all, but in their mind may happen, or they imagine they are going to happen. Like a woman I knew who began to take out all the clippings of the newspapers of plane disasters. And she studied them. Finally, she got on a plane, and her son said she had to get on a plane where there was a disaster, because she'd been contemplating it for 1 year. If you're contemplating or meditating on or imagining the loss of your home, the loss of your job, a layoff, or that you're going to lose your home or can't pay the mortgage, these imaginary fears set your hormones, the pituitary and the adrenal gland, into action, and these hormones which are elaborated interfere with the chemistry of your system. There is no sickness, you have no fever, you have had no accident, no lesion, you don't have pneumonia, there's nothing for them to do. But they play havoc with the chemistry of your body. It's an entirely different thing if you're sick or have a fever or you've been operated on, then the defense mechanism begins to repair your body. But there's nothing to repair in imaginary fears. And this is why Dr. Selye says you get all these diseases because of your imaginary fears, which bring on stress and strain. A young intern consistently worried about his future. He was a nervous wreck full of stress and strain. He learned to paint a picture of himself as filling a staff position in a big hospital and possessing a sumptuous office in the city. In his imagery, he had a liveried chauffeur, and he imagined that friends constantly were congratulating him. He kept this mental picture before him. It was his mental movie. He attended to it and devoted himself to this picture. Whenever he was prone to worry or becoming anxious, He purposely flashed the picture on the screen of his mind. As the weeks passed by, a higher power moved on his behalf, honoring his dreams and making them all real. The chief surgeon invited him to be his assistant, and he married a very wealthy woman who purchased for him a most sumptuous office, and furthermore also provided him with a Cadillac and a liveried chauffeur. Many women do that. Some men marry very, very wealthy women. Why not? There's nothing wrong with it. This is the way by which the habit of worry is changed. This is the way the old man becomes a new man in thee God. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. You don't have to suffer from chronic worry or be anxious or get overtense. Do not spend time looking at your troubles or problems. Cease all negative thinking. Your mind cannot function harmoniously when it is tense. It relieves the strain to do something soothing and pleasant when you are presented with a problem. You do not fight a problem, you can overcome it. To release pressure, take a drive, go for a walk, play solitaire, read a favorite chapter of the Bible, such as the 11th chapter of Hebrews, the greatest antidote to fear and worry in the world today. It's the finest chapter in the whole Bible to develop self-confidence and inner peace. Read the 13th chapter of 1 Corinthians, magnificent drama. Or read the 46th Psalm. Read it over carefully and quietly several times. You won't suffer from strain or stress if you do these things. An inner calm will steal over you. You will become poised and peaceful. Did you ever read the 11th chapter of Hebrews? Did you ever read the chapter 13 of the 1 Corinthians? It's a very beautiful prayer, one of the most wonderful love epics of all time. Here's a wonderful thing for you to do in the morning. Every morning when you awaken, turn to the God presence within you in prayer. Know God is that infinite intelligence, boundless wisdom within you, which watched over you while you were sound asleep. Relax your body, then have a dialogue with the higher self. Become as a little child. This means that you trust the divine presence completely, and you know that infinite intelligence is healing you now. The next step would be to affirm lovingly, "Thank you, Father, for this wonderful day. It is God's day. It is filled with joy, peace, happiness, and success. I look forward with a happy expectancy to this day. The wisdom and inspiration of the Almighty will govern me during the entire day. The infinite intelligence is my partner, my senior partner. Everything I do will turn out in a wonderful way. I believe that infinite intelligence is guiding me, and divine love fills my soul. This is turning your eyes to the hills, from whence cometh your help." This is one of the most inspiring and illuminating passages in the entire Bible. For the hills represent the powers and qualities and attributes of God within you. The third step, claim boldly, "I am full of confidence in the goodness of God in the land of the living. I know infinite intelligence watches over me all day today and at all times everywhere. I let go. I am poised, serene, and calm. I know that it is God in action in all phases of my life, and divine law and order reigns supreme in my life." Make a habit of dwelling on these steps in prayer every morning before you go to work. When worry thoughts or anxious thoughts come to your mind, substitute any of the spiritual thoughts from these 3 steps, and your mind will be conditioned to peace, poise, serenity, and tranquility. Dr. Paul Dubois, famous psychiatrist in Switzerland, people visit him from all over the world. He gives men who are suffering from stress or strain or anxiety, he gives them words to use, the therapy of words, such as invulnerability, serenity, tranquility, victory, peace. Well, when you use these words, they release that power of your subconscious mind. These powers become active and potent in your life, and victory becomes yours. That's a very wonderful thing to know, but it's a marvelous thing to do. And you can begin to do it now. The ravages of worry, stress, and strain are countless, Millions of people throughout the world are sick from worrying and from anxiety. The stress, the people who worry always are expecting things to go wrong. This is primarily due to a lack of faith in the infinite. They brood or worry over a great many things that never happen. They get over tense. They will tell you all the reasons why something bad should happen. not one reason why something good should happen. This constant worry and anxiety debilitates their entire system, resulting in physical and mental disorders. A man said to me one time, "I'm worried sick about my drugstore. I may lose it. Business is good, but it can't last. I'm anxious about the whole thing. I may go bankrupt. My mind is in turmoil. I can't sleep because of the stress and the strain on me." "Tell me the nature of your business problem," I suggested. "Oh, nothing has happened yet, but I fear it will happen. I worry myself sick, and I also get my wife upset. How can I stop worrying?" This man actually was doing a good business. He had a fine bank account. By ordinary standards in the drug business, he was prospering. His constant negative imagery was robbing him of vitality, enthusiasm, and energy. And in addition, he was making himself weaker and less able to meet any challenges that might come along. I explained to this pharmacist that if he continued worrying, he would attract the conditions upon which he was mentally dwelling. "For that which I fear most has come upon me," Job said. That the only thing really wrong with him was a false belief in his mind, negative imagery, and that he had forgotten that he personally could control his thoughts and his life. I gave him the following spiritual prescription. He was to use it regularly and systematically several times a day. "My business is God's business. God is my partner in all of my affairs. God, which means that supreme intelligence within you, is prospering my business in a wonderful way. I claim that all those working with me in my store are spiritual links in its growth, welfare, and prosperity. I know this, I believe it, and I rejoice in their success and happiness. I solve all my problems by trusting the infinite intelligence within my subconscious mind to reveal to me the answer. I rest in security and in peace. I am surrounded by peace, love, and harmony. I know that all my business relationship with people are in accord with the law of harmony. Infinite intelligence reveals to me better ways in which I can serve humanity. I know that infinite intelligence indwells all my customers and clients. I work harmoniously with others to the end that happiness, prosperity, and peace reign supreme. When any worry or fear thoughts come to my mind, I will immediately affirm, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." He began to set aside 10 or 15 minutes in the morning, afternoon, and evening for the purpose of reiterating these truths, knowing that through their frequent habitation of his mind, he would be reconditioned to constructive thinking. When morbid thoughts came to his mind, he would immediately affirm, "Divine love fills my soul." He said to me that in one day he must have said, "Divine love fills my soul," about 1,000 times. Gradually, the neurotic thought pattern of chronic worry and anxiety that he had complained of in the beginning, which had been repeating itself with monotonous regularity, was completely dissipated, and he rejoiced in his freedom. And this is a wonderful thing to know, but it's a marvelous thing to do. Tension is not bad. It is over-tension, of course, that plays havoc with you. Take an actress or an actor. Naturally, they're tense. They accumulate some energy before they sing or dance or, play the role on the stage. That's constructive. They're accumulating a certain amount of energy. It's just like a clock. If you wind the clock too tight, well, you know what happens, don't you? The spring breaks. But you can wind the clock and it ticks off rhythmically, harmoniously, and peacefully, and gives you the time. Likewise, you're a little tense before you speak, perhaps. I'm always a little tense before I talk. There's nothing wrong with that. The minute you begin to talk, then you tick off that energy rhythmically, harmoniously, peacefully, and lovingly. And you look at the audience and you say, "Look, I radiate love, peace, and goodwill to all those people in the Wilshire Ebell Theatre. The love of God surrounds them and enfolds them and enwraps them. God thinks, speaks, and acts through me. My words heal, bless, and inspire. They elevate and dignify the soul." That does away with all stress and strain and anxiety, because you're filling your mind with the truths of God, and you crowd out of your mind everything unlike God. Furthermore, the audience are blessed because they're all open and receptive. You can build energy. If you are going to sing, yes, you get a little tense. And then when you begin to sing, you sing majestically and gloriously, because you say, God is singing majestically through me. All of us are tense at times, we're relaxed at times. You know the transoceanic planes that fly thousands of miles, they go to Japan, China, and all over the world. And scientists tell us they have to rest because the metal gets tired. The stress and strain are too much for the metal, so the metals have to rest. Now, prolonged rest and perpetual peace is existing without living. You know, when you go to a funeral in Ireland, they deposit the body in the earth, you know, they say, well, he's at peace now. That's utter nonsense, because there's no one at all there. No one buried any place. The man is a mental and spiritual being. He has another body living in the fourth dimensions of life. So to have peace of mind, it means you're creative, you're putting your hand to the wheel, you roll up your sleeves, you're expressing yourself fully, you're rowing the boat, you get some blisters too, but you're constructive, you're harmonious, you're releasing that imprisoned splendor, you're getting things done. That gives you an inner peace, an inner satisfaction, a quiescence of the mind. But certainly perpetual peace and sitting on a rocking chair without doing anything is frustration and neurosis. You're here to express, you're here to put your shoulder to the wheel, you're here to get involved and help other people and release your hidden talents to the world. God gave you himself, gave you all the attributes, qualities, and powers of God. You're here to return them. You're here to give them. You're here to give life to your desires, ideals. You're here to create. Perhaps you're a singer, a dancer, and perhaps you're a motion picture director. Perhaps you're a writer. Perhaps you're a doctor. Perhaps you're serving hamburgers, but you're here to serve. And when you don't serve, when you don't express, you then get tense, over tense, and anxious, and frustrated, and you become 100% neurotic. You're a spiritual being living in a material universe, yes. You're not living in your body. The body isn't living in you as an idea. It's simply waves of light. It's molecular. It's not solid at all. The spirit and the mind in you represent cause. Your world is an effect. Now your body, which means your physical body, your environment, your pocketbook, your social status, your relationship with people, all these are a mathematical reflection of your habitual thinking and imagery. In other words, you are belief expressed. If you want to overcome stress and strain, people today, I hear men saying, oh, it's a rat race, the pace is terrific, the pressure is awful, and I don't know that I can stand this rat race, you know, my nerves are jangled, I can't sleep night, I have to take tranquilizers. Others say I have to take 4 shots of whiskey in order to go to sleep at night. I come home so tense and so exhausted that I have to have 3 or 4 beers or something, you know, things of that, you know, you've heard that. Well, now go frequently to the world of spirit within you and claim beauty and inspiration, claim guidance, and claim the almighty power is moving through you. You will be refreshed, revitalized, and strengthened. Call upon me, I will answer you, I'll be with you in trouble. I'll set you on high, because you have known my name. The name or the nature of infinite intelligence is to respond to you. This is the meaning of turning your eyes to the hills, from whence cometh your help. Hills that are within a range, as we said at the beginning of this broadcast. Therefore you turn to infinite intelligence, boundless wisdom, and the infinite love, and claim these things, and lo and behold, you feel the dew of heaven moving over the arid areas of your mind, and you're refreshed. It's called the manna that cometh down from heaven, from the heavens of your own mind. That invisible food, that intangible thing, that inspirits you, invigorates you, enlightens you. If you're upset or under strain, therefore, turn to the great eternal truths within you. Think of the absolute harmony, the boundless love, the infinite intelligence, and the infinite wisdom governing the planets in their course and causing the sun to shine, and turning the earth in its axis, you know, regularly and systematically. Think of these great eternal truths, and they are within you, and then realize divine law and order in your life, and I can do all things through this God power which strengtheneth me. Then you'll grapple with the problem courageously. You'll say every problem is divinely outmatched. The problem is here, but infinite intelligence is here too. And therefore I'm bound to overcome. I'm bound to win. I'm born to win. The infinite can't fail. Then you'll tackle your problem with faith and confidence, and you won't tackle it with stress and strain. Begin to meditate, therefore, on the great immutable laws of life, and you're transported from tension and stress and strain to inner peace, tranquility, and serenity of mind. For great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them. And the law is you are what you contemplate. You become what you contemplate. Contemplate the great truths, and then they become active and potent in your life. Everything in the universe passes away. You can't be frustrated forever. You can't be sick forever. You can't be a square peg in a round hole forever. If it's hot, it's going to cool off. If it's rainy, it's going to dry up. Everything passes away. 1,000 times in your Bible, you have this expression, and it came to pass. Yes, the flood came to pass. Everything comes to pass. So nothing is forever. That'll give you a sense of tranquility, too. Everything is changing into its opposite, you know. You can't be lonesome forever. Claim divine companionship, that infinite spirit is attracting to you, a companion who harmonizes with you in every way. It'll come to pass. You know that Persian king, he wanted a reminder on a ring, just a few words. And he told these sophisticated astrologers in his day, he said, I want a maxim, a little aphorism that I can look at in my ring that will always give me peace of mind and serenity whenever I'm too high or too low or depressed. So what did they give him? They gave him a ring, and inscribed in the ring was, this too shall pass away. For everything will pass away. The war, if there's a war, there's going to be peace. It's going to stop, you know. So these are lofty truths. I'll turn my eyes to the hills from whence cometh my help, and thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Think of these lofty truths. I and my Father are one. If God be for me, who could be against me? Yes, all things are ready if the mind be so. According to my belief is it done unto me. According to my faith is it done unto me. Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I hath is thine. Before you call, I will answer. While you're yet speaking, I will hear. Are you going to say, it is hard for me? Is the Lord's hand shortened that he cannot save? The battle is not yours, it is mine. Stand ye still and see the salvation of the Lord, solution which the lordly power will give you. Come unto me, come unto that infinite intelligence within you. All ye that are able, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I, the infinite, will give you rest. Every problem has a solution. Every question has its answer. One implies the other. Therefore, you go within to contemplating the answer, and the answer will come to you. My peace I leave you, my peace I give you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. And great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. These truths lift you up above the petty things of life, and set you free. And when fear or worry knocks at your door, faith in God and the goodness of God open the door of your mind, and there's no one there. If you're worried about your income or family or business problem, they're changing now. Go to the spirit world. The infinite presence is there, the infinite life and infinite love and boundless wisdom. All these truths are there. And there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. That's an absolute, a philosophical absolute. Therefore, where there's no opinion, there's no suffering. Where there's no judgment, there's no pain. You have no opinions about the headlines of the morning. You have no opinion about John Jones shooting himself. You didn't tell him to do it. If you get all exercised and agitated about, you may suffer from stress and strain and get, as the doctor said, ulcers or high blood pressure. And you're only polluting the atmosphere that way. Wouldn't it be easy for you to say, well, he's alive with the life of God. God loves him and cares for him. You can do that even though he's committed suicide, can't you? So how could it disturb you? You disturbed yourself, didn't you? So it isn't the work, that's bothering you or giving you stress and strain. It isn't your job. It isn't your assignment. It isn't that you're president of the company or vice president or general manager. That's not it at all. It's the way you work. It's your reaction to the work. If you're resenting the work or the boss, and if you're working with hostility and fear and anxiety, you're projecting that onto the work and to those people around you. And of course, then stress and strain come into your experience. So do what you're doing. Do to the best of your ability with love and goodwill. Because you're always projecting your worry, your shortcomings, your anxieties onto your business, your affairs, and other people. If you have lofty thoughts and ideals and dreams and aspirations, you must bring them into manifestation so that we can see them in your body, in your speech, in your mannerisms, in your gestures, in your work, in your writing, in all phases of your life. If you don't do that, you become tense. You suffer from stress and strain. There are people who are off to communes, you know. They wear a loincloth or something. They smoke marijuana. We read about it in the papers. Sometimes the papers are full of this sort of thing. And they go on relief, you know. Children are born, and of course they don't get proper attention. And they expect the world owes them a living and things of that nature. All of these people who live that way are suffering from stress and strain, with all the results that follow from that condition. We're all here to serve. We're all here to put our hand to the plow. And when a man isn't expressing himself, he feels guilty. With guilt comes fear, with fear comes punishment. Because he knows in his heart he's here to give. So those living in ivory towers are in difficulty. They're full of tension. You're living in an objective and subjective world, and you have to balance the two. So if you're all wrapped up in metaphysics, you know, just reading metaphysical and philosophical books, and you're not expressing yourself in the world, you don't have love and recreation and creativity and expression, and joy and all these things, then you're a queer, cultish figure. You're lopsided and balanced, and you're really sick. Because these things have to be balanced. On the other hand, if you're all wrapped up in the external phenomena, the world, and say, look, all I want is to make a lot of money and get ahead in life, and you reject and neglect the spiritual values of life, you too are lopsided. You're imbalanced. You're a crass materialist, and you're running to the psychiatrist, or to the bottle, or for tranquilizers and sedatives, and they will not help you. Because when the marijuana wears off, or the tranquilizer wears off, you find the infection is in your own mind. So these things never cure you, the cause is within. So we're all here to lead a balanced life, and you live in an objective world, and you're here to roll up your sleeves, whether it's a telephone company, or you're digging in the soil, or whether you're driving a truck or operating in an operating table. And then you do that with joy and with love, and you go to the Father within regularly and systematically for refreshment, inspiration, and guidance, to dwell upon the great values of life. Then you're leading a balanced life, and you're no longer lopsided. The inner world, you know, is a world of thought, of feeling, of imagination, of action too, plans and purposes, of dreams and aspirations, isn't it? It's a real world. It's as real as the other world. The Bible tells you, I am come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Heretofore you have asked for nothing. Now ask that your joy might be full. The spirit without form is nothing, and form without spirit is nothing. Today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. That's from the Sanskrit. So the pace is not killing you, it's your attitude of mind towards your work, you see. Approach your work and say, I can do all things through this God power which strengtheneth me. I radiate love, peace, and goodwill to all those around me. I'm inspired today. Spirit of the Almighty moves in the waters of my mind, and whatever I do will prosper. Then you're overcoming stress and strain. So stress and strain do not really come from that work, whether you're building a house or whether you're a carpenter. sawing wood, but is work done in anxiety and resentment and hostility. Remember, we project our own disorder and confusion onto our wives, our husbands, and all those around us. The engineer told me one time that he had a very difficult assignment. He said, my attitude of mind was this. He said, I took it from the Bible. I am hath sent me unto you. I am means God, life, awareness. In other words, his attitude was, God sent me here, Supreme Intelligence sent me here to solve this problem, and I'm going to solve it. That's grappling with it courageously. That releases his tension and gives him a sense of peace. And of course, he was a very, very successful engineer. There is a power in man which enables him to overcome. Spirit of the Almighty hath made you, Job says, and the breath of the Almighty hath given you life. Therefore boundless wisdom and infinite intelligence is within you. And life is demanding of you your wisdom, power, and strength. In other words, life was demanding of that engineer all the knowledge he had, his ingenuity and skill. Tension means to stretch, you know. Like a soldier told me, one of his friends fell into a ravine, and all he had at that time was some cord, and he threw him a piece of cord, stood on firm ground himself, and the cord broke. So finally he had to get a branch of a tree and pull him out. In other words, the weight of the man, the weight of the soldier, and the resistance, I suppose, of the mud and all that in which he was immersed or mired was too great, and the cord broke, but the branch remained firm. So likewise, you know very well whether you're going to crack up or not. If you're under too much of a strain, break it off, like some men go out in the golf field for a few hours, they take a trip for a day or two, and they come back when they're rested and they get a quiet mind. So the way to overcome it, the way to stretch your mind, is to say to yourself, I can do all things through this God power which strengtheneth me. Think of yourself as a son of the infinite. That will give you great tensile strength. You'll be able to pull the load then. Realize the infinite can fail, I'm born to win. Tremendous reserves are available. I can do all things through this power which strengtheneth me. Yes, you're not inadequate or weak. You can say one with the infinite is a majority, and if the infinite be for me, who on earth can be against me? So the infinite is within you, and it knows only the answer. If you feel too weak, you see, inadequate, and say, oh, well, I can't handle that job, and all that, then you come under pressure, you see. Become aware of the infinite, which lies stretched in smiling repose. God is that supreme wisdom within you, and get a new estimate of yourself. Realize I and my Father are one, the same Spirit that governs the universe and governs the planets in their course. That same Spirit is in me. So I am large, you know, and I contain multitudes. Walt Whitman said, the great American poet, meaning that all the powers of the Godhead were within him. That's what he meant. We've slept in ourselves too long. Man is asleep to the tremendous powers within him. Haven't you noticed, I'm sure you have, the woman weighing 90 pounds lifts the truck. Her husband is penned underneath it. 5 men later on can't even lift it. Where did that power come from? It was always there. In an emergency, intense desire to save the life of her husband, she lifts the truck, thinks nothing of it. Yes, we're all taxed. That woman, that wife was taxed. All her power, her ingenuity, and skill were taxed, and she drew on the power of the infinite. And it lifted the truck. Nothing happened to her either. She didn't suffer from any ill effects. You read recently in the paper about this tall man. The car was on fire. He pulled the handle of the door open, took the man out in the blazing fire, and walked away. Saved the man. And everybody was amazed. Where did that strength come from? 'Twas within him. He called on it in emergency. Yes, your patience is taxed. Your ingenuity, your skill, your love is taxed. Your knowledge of truth is taxed every day. And God gave you life. God gave you himself. In him you live and move and have your being. God lives, moves, and has being in you. and all the love, the truth, and the beauty of the infinite are within you. The doctor, when he operates, sometimes he thinks it's going to be an hour, but he finds that the operation will last 6 hours after opening up the patient. He has to draw, yes, his energy, his skill, his knowledge, his understanding, his text, and then he draws in the reserves, the infinite intelligence, the light of the infinite to guide him and direct him and sustain him. And he pulls through, doesn't he? So you're equipped to handle everything. When you're presented with a proposition and someone says, we're going to make you president of the company, or vice president, or general manager, the life principle in you knows that you can do it. You can never be presented with a problem which you cannot overcome, because the infinity is within you. You could not be asked to become general manager, except first of all they trusted you, and the life principle knows that you could do it. Of course you can't, because you are your own savior, and the saving power is within you. The power that moves the world is within you, and it only knows the answer. I received a letter from a woman in which she wrote, my husband sits around all day and does nothing but drink beer. He won't work and he whines all the time. He worries me terribly, and my physician says that I have an anxiety neurosis, that I'm suffering from stress and strain. On top of that, I suffer from asthma, skin trouble, and high blood pressure. My husband is killing me. Husband has nothing to do with it. It's her reaction. It's her thought about him. I wrote to her and told her that today it is well known in psychological and medical circles that many skin disorders, asthma, allergies, cardiac disorders, and diabetes, as well as a host of other illnesses, are brought on by chronic worry, stress, and strain, which is another name for anxiety neurosis. I also gave her a spiritual prescription in which I suggested that several times a day she was to bless her husband as follows. My husband is God's man. He's divinely active, divinely prospered, peaceful, happy, and joyous. He's expressing himself fully and is in his true place. He receives a marvelous income. Sobriety and peace of mind reign supreme in his life. I now picture him coming home every night and telling me how happy he is in his new job. I leave it all to the infinite to fulfill. I enclose a second prayer which she was to take mentally and emotionally 6 or 7 times a day until her subconscious absorbed it. She also was to picture her doctor telling her that she was whole and perfect. Following is her second prayer. The gifts of God are mine now. I use every moment of this day to glorify the infinite. Infinite harmony, peace, and abundance are mine. Divine love flowing from me blesses all who come into my atmosphere. Divine love is healing me now. I fear no evil, for the infinite is within me. I am always surrounded by the sacred circle of divine love and power. I claim, feel, know, and believe definitely and positively that the spell of divine love and eternal watchfulness guides, heals, and takes care of all members of my family and loved ones. I forgive everyone, and I sincerely radiate divine love, peace, and goodwill to all men everywhere. At the center of my being is peace. This is the peace of the infinite, which lies stretched in smiling repose. In this stillness I feel the strength, guidance, and love of the divine presence. I am divinely guided in all my ways. I am a clear channel for the light, the love, the truth, and the beauty of the infinite one. I feel the river of peace flowing through me now. I know that all my problems are dissolved in the mind of the infinite. His ways are my ways, and all my ways are pleasantness, and all my paths are peace. The words I have spoken accomplish that whereunto they are sent. I rejoice and give thanks, realizing that my prayers are answered. At the end of 2 weeks, she wrote, saying her prayers worked wonders. I've been saying the prayers as you suggested, and I've been holding a picture of my husband in my mind. He got a job and he's sober. My doctor checked my blood pressure, and it is normal. All the blotches in my skin have cleared up. I don't have to take asthma medicine anymore. This woman's accumulated negative thoughts and mental pictures were the cause of her chronic worry and stress and strain. As she identified mentally and emotionally with the great truths given her, they began to sink into her mind. She also painted pictures of health and vitality for herself and of achievement and accomplishment for her husband. These mental images were etched in her deeper mind, and her subconscious brought them all to fruition. Dr. Flanders Dunbar, the great authority in emotions and bodily changes, medical doctor, distinguished psychiatrist, Ph.D., doctor of medical science, says in 1935, Dr. Menninger reported in 2 articles a study of the psychological factors in diabetes. He found there were important factors in the genesis of disease. The belief that diabetes may be caused by anxiety was presented by 2 psychiatrists. Psychic shock as an exciting cause, worry, anxiety, and nervous strain are among the most frequent events in the diabetic anamnesis. Menninger points out, she says, that all quoted authors agree that diabetes may be accelerated or aggravated by emotional states. He remarks, one is impressed with the inconsistency of the opinions, that there is no denial of the great importance of the psychogenic factors once diabetes is established, and yet so conservative in opinion as to these same influences initiating the metabolic disorders. From study of this material, Menninger found depression and anxiety to be the most common mental states associated with diabetes. He found no preponderance of type of mental disorders in diabetics, except that psychoneurosis of various types were frequent. He states, however, that one must refer to multiple causative factors in attempting to explain the cause of diabetes. In conclusion, he says there is not much doubt that diabetes develops as a part of the expression of the individual's personality conflict. That's interesting. Once an executive came to me and told me that he was terribly worried that he would not get the presidency at his company's next scheduled board meeting. He added that he was next in line. This constant worry and anxiety were about to give him a nervous breakdown. In talking to him, I discovered that he had been anxious most of his life, and I remarked that he just thought his worry was due to the possibility that he would not be promoted. He did not agree with this. I told him to picture himself as president and to imagine that his associates were congratulating him on his promotion. He faithfully followed these instructions, and he was duly installed as president at the next board meeting. They had already promised him the presidency, but you see, he was worried that he wouldn't get it. About a month later, however, he again came to see me. He was still worrying and still anxious, and his doctor had said his blood pressure was dangerously high because of this stress and mental strain. I reminded him that he had previously attributed his worry to the fact that he might not be made president of his organization. But now that he was president, he had not stopped worrying. He still had the stress and the strain. He was worrying about the fact that he might not live up to the expectations of the executive board, that his decisions might cause the company to go in the red, and that he might be asked to resign. He began to look inside himself. Suddenly he realized that his whole trouble was due to the fact that he did not make a habit of prayer and had no real contact with infinite power from which he could draw strength and security. He had thought that he was cursed with these worries, but now he awakened to the naked truth that he alone was the creator of his stress, his strain, his high blood pressure, and all the rest of it. Then he decided to establish a prayer pattern. That way he could overcome his obsession. When you awaken in the morning, I told him to use this particular prayer. I know that the answer to my problem lies in the infinite intelligence within me. I now quiet my mind. I get still, I relax, I'm at peace. I know the infinite speaks in peace and not in confusion. I am now in tune with the infinite. I know and believe implicitly that infinite intelligence is revealing to me the perfect answer. I think about the solution to my problems. I now live in the mood I would have were my problem solved. I live in the abiding faith and trust, which is the mood of the solution. This is the Spirit of the Infinite moving within me. The Spirit is omnipotent. It is manifesting itself. My whole being rejoices in the solution. I am glad. I live in this feeling, and I give thanks. I know the Infinite has the answer, for with infinite intelligence all things are possible. God, I know God is the living Spirit Almighty within me, without face, form, or figure. This is the source of all wisdom and illumination. The indicator of the divine presence within me is a sense of peace and poise. I now cease all sense of strain and struggle. I trust the divine power implicitly. I know that all the wisdom and power I need to live a glorious and successful life are within me. I relax my entire body. My faith is in His wisdom. I go free. I claim and feel the river of peace flowing through me. I know the quiet mind gets its problem solved. I turn my request over to the subjective intelligence, knowing it has the answer, and I am at peace. He repeated the above prayer 3 times each morning, knowing that through repetition these truths would sink into his subconscious and establish a healing, a wholesome habit of constructive thinking. He also realized that he now was anchored to the divine power within him, in which he lived, moved, and had his being. His sense of union with the Infinite gave him confidence to overcome anything which he had mistakenly worried about. Through this shift in his mental attitude, he became a balanced man. A woman once visited me and said she was worried about her boy at school. She feared that he might get the measles, fall into a swimming pool, or be run over by a truck. She really wasn't a worried bosh. She said to me, "I must worry. I can't stop worrying. The stress and strain is terrific." I told her that it would be much more interesting, fascinating, absorbing, and thrilling to bless her boy, rather than to throw mental bricks at him all day long. I suggested that she open her mind, let in the higher power, and realize that the Infinite presence and power loves her boy, that the Infinite watches over him, that His overshadowing presence protects the boy at all times, that the infinite ocean of love surrounds him, enfolds him, and enwraps him. As she practiced blessing her boy, she cast out all her gloom of worry and misery. She made a habit of prayer, and prayer is a habit. This woman's worry, fretfulness, and morbid thoughts about her son were due to laziness and indifference in allowing these destructive pictures to influence her thoughts and emotions. You can heal yourself, as did this woman, by following the injunction of the psalmist, "I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help." Do this regularly, and you will be released from the vexations of worry. When you worry, when you're anxious, you are focusing your attention, directing your mind on that which you do not want, so that you create conditions, experience, and events which disturb you. Worry means that you are using your mind negatively and destructively, but you know very well you can overcome it. A merchant marine captain during the World War overcame his stress and his strain by the seaman's version of the 23rd Psalm. He said, "The Lord is my pilot, I shall not drift. He lighteth me across the dark waters. He keepeth my log. He steereth me in the deep channels. He guideth me by the star of holiness for His name's sake. Yea, though I sail mid the thunders and tempests of life, I shall dread no danger, for Thou art with me. Thy rod and Thy staff, they comfort me. Thy love and Thy care, they shelter me. Thou preparest a harbor before me in the homeland of eternity. Thou anointest the waves with oil. My ship rideth calmly. Surely sunlight and starlight shall favor me on the voyage I take, and I will rest in the port of my God forever. You can dwell upon these great truths too, and remember fear is a shadow in your mind, and when the light comes into your mind, well, the darkness disappears, doesn't it? Always does. Then that light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world is within you, and light is supreme intelligence. It is the almighty power within you that knows only the answer. When you are perplexed, confused, and fearful and worried, and wonder what decision to make, don't get tense about it. Remember that you have an inner guide that will lead and direct you in all your ways, revealing to you the perfect plan and showing you the way you should go. The secret of guidance or right action is to mentally devote yourself to the right answer until you find its response within you. The infinite intelligence deep in your subconscious mind is responsive to your request. This response you will recognize as an inner feeling, an awareness, an overpowering hunch, leading you to the right place at the right time, putting the right words into your mouth, causing you to do the right thing in the right way. And this releases you from strain and stress. A businessman recently related to me how he prays for guidance. He has a rather simple technique. He goes into his private office in the morning where he's not disturbed, closes his eyes, and thinks of the attributes and qualities of the Infinite which he knows are all within him. This does away with all worry, stress, and strain. This generates a mood of peace and power and confidence. He moves from the material world to the spiritual world, to the Infinite which lies stretched in smiling repose, where all is peace, harmony, joy, and bliss. There is a river, the streams whereof make glad the city of my God. The city of God is your own mind, where you walk and talk with the Infinite. Then he speaks in the following simple manner to the Divine Presence, his higher self, within him. Father, thou knowest all things. Give me the idea necessary for a new program today. He then imagines he has the answer that is flowing through his mind. He affirms, I accept the answer. Creative ideas unfold within me, bringing me harmony, health, and peace and joy. After this prayer, he gets busy and becomes preoccupied with routine matters, and the answer inevitably reveals itself when he's not thinking about it. He said that oft times the answer comes like a flash, spontaneously and unannounced. The amazing suddenness with which the solution to his business problem comes, sometimes, he said, is startling indeed. So that answer is within you. It reveals the answer to you, and you can overcome that sense of frustration and anxiety and neurosis. The Bible says, choose ye this day whom ye shall serve. The key to health, happiness, peace, and abundance lies in the capacity to choose. When you learn to think right, you will cease choosing pain, misery, lack, high blood pressure, and limitation. On the contrary, you will choose from the treasure house of the Infinite within you. You'll no longer choose ulcers, diabetes, and the other things which strain and stress cause. You will affirm incisively and decisively, I choose happiness, peace, prosperity, wisdom, and security, today and every day of my life. The moment you come to that definite conclusion in your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, full of the power and wisdom of the Infinite, will come to your aid. Guidance will come to you, and the way or path of achievement will be revealed to you. Claim definitely and positively, without the slightest hesitation, doubt, or fear, there is only one power of creation. It is the power of my deeper self. There is a solution to every problem. This I know, decree, and believe. As you claim these truths boldly, you will receive guidance pertinent to all your undertakings, and wonders will happen in your life. To be frustrated is to be confused, baffled, perplexed, or thwarted in reaching your goal. Fear really is behind all frustration, stress, and strain, because man believes he is stymied, blocked, and inhibited by external forces, and therefore he can't realize his desire. In other words, he thinks his environment is greater than himself. Young engineer said to me, "I've been working for a boss for over 15 years. I have not been promoted. My talents are being wasted. I'm frustrated, unhappy. I hate my boss. I have high blood pressure. I've got ulcers. My boss is an ignoramus. I just walked out, got another job, but I went from the frying pan into the fire. This new job is worse." This engineer found that he would never be advanced in his work because of his age and racial background. He was brought up by a domineering, tyrannical, puritanical sort of father who was typical of his New England traditions. He had resented his father, had not written him for many years. Moreover, he had a guilt complex and feared punishment because of his hatred and resentment towards his father. He said to me, "I suppose God has it in for me," an old orthodox statement. Slowly but surely, he began to see that he was rebelling against authority in the same way he had been rebelling inwardly against his father. It began to dawn on him that he was actually transferring the blame for his own shortcomings, mistakes, and misdeeds to his superiors in business. In other words, the boss was the father image. He was also attributing to those in authority over him his unacceptable impulses and thoughts. He overcame his sense of frustration by first perceiving that he was actually blocking his own promotion by his fear, resentment, and hatred. Furthermore, he knew that his ulcers, high blood pressure, was due to the stress and strain, this anxiety, and this antagonism. He began to pray morning and evening as follows: "I wish for everyone in the plant where I work health, happiness, peace, and promotion. My employer congratulates me on my work. I paint this picture in my mind regularly, and I know it will come to pass. I am loving, kind, and cooperative. I practice the golden rule, and I sincerely treat everyone in the same way that I would like to be treated. Divine intelligence rules and guides me all day long, and I'm prospered in all my ways." As he saturated his mind regularly and systematically with these thoughts, he succeeded in bringing about a new mental attitude of a constructive nature which changed everything for the better in his life. And then gradually the doctor said his ulcers had disappeared. He no longer lived on milk, and toast and things of that nature. His blood pressure dropped because his blood pressure was feeling he was inadequate and also resenting with great hostility those around him. He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalted folly. That's from the book of Proverbs. Say to yourself, "I'm always poised, serene, and calm. The peace of the infinite floods my mind and my whole being. Practice the golden rule, sincerely wish peace and goodwill to all men. You will not suffer from strain or stress when you do that. You'll discover that all your ways are pleasantness and all your paths are peace. Know that the love of all things which are good penetrates your mind and casts out all fear, stress, and strain. You're now living in the joyous expectancy of the best, for only the best should come to you. Your mind is free from all worry and doubt. Your words of truth dissolve every negative thought and emotion within you. You open the doorway of your heart to the divine presence and the influx of the Holy Spirit. Your whole being is flooded with the light and understanding from within. The petty things of life no longer irritate you. When fear, worry, and doubt knocks at your door, faith and goodness, truth and beauty opens the door, and there is no one there. Remind yourself frequently, "O God, thou art my God, and there is none else. And the God presence indwells me, walks and talks in me." It's my higher self. All its ways are pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. And with your eyes stayed on God, there is no evil on your pathway, now and forevermore.